Hi folks, welcome back to another week of the Fortify Prescription. We're on week 5 out of this cycle, so we've only got 2 weeks left before things change up in terms of your weekly structure. This week I'm going to talk to you about one of the specific sessions that we've been doing in Fortify this past cycle, and it's the Sunday muscle work, the Saturday or day 4 muscle work piece. It's basically arranged in an every minute on the minute setup, and each piece is 12 minutes long and it has 2 different pieces, often opposing pieces. So there's ways that we want to, as coaches, we want to pair movements so that they complement each other. So you wouldn't have 2 pushing movements together because you're going to basically burn yourself out. But you might have a push and a pull together. So that's sort of my idea around building those. Now, when I'm building those, there's been a few things in my mind that I've wanted to work on. One has been accumulation of moderate, sustainable volume that has felt metabolic in the way it's put together. That metabolic is, what I mean by that is it's very much based in the muscle tissue, very sort of pumpy. You'll feel a bit of a burn, but very low central nervous system. And central nervous system is hard to describe, but when you do a really, really heavy reps or really, really intense conditioning piece, that's going to absolutely fry your central nervous system. What I'm looking for with these day 4 pieces is avoiding that. We want to keep that central nervous system fresher. And that feels a bit like you go into the gym and you work quite hard and it feels like a burning sensation in the muscles, what I would call a pump. But when you leave the gym, you just feel good. You don't feel like you're absolutely destroyed, or you need to go and have a nap, or you need to absolutely feast on sugar all day. That's what really high intensity work does for you. And most of the time we just need to stay away from that, because essentially all we're doing is we're building a massive base of support. And these higher rep, more metabolic pieces, they really help us build the support we need in our musculoskeletal system to do harder stuff down the line, or to maintain joint health and movement integrity for the rest of our lives. So what I mean by that is, if we think about the basic parts of the musculoskeletal system, we've got the skeleton, we've got the muscles themselves, and then we've got the tendons and ligaments, which are the connective tissues, which essentially attach the muscles to the bones and or hold the joints together. And those connective tissues is where we see very common injuries. And those injuries will be things like tendinopathies, ligament tweaks or strains, and essentially that's where we've exerted a force on those connective tissues that they're not ready for. And something to bear in mind is that when you're doing resistance training, or any type of training for that matter, your muscular system, so the biceps, the quadriceps, the hamstrings, the lats, they grow quite quickly. They adapt quickly to strength training, or if you're running, your calves will adapt fairly quickly to running uphill. But the tendons that connect those muscles to the bones are like thick, fibrous bits of tissue at the end of the muscle, and you can feel them in your body. If you feel your Achilles, that's a tendon. It's as hard as bone, but it's a tendon. That, at the end of the muscle, that adapts so much more slowly. So what we need to think about is we need to let that connective tissue have time to catch up. An accumulation work like this, if it's managed properly, and if you don't burn yourself out on it, it can really help build that base of support. And that base of support is what goes towards building strength long term. Now, the central nervous system, it needs to learn how to do movements. So for those of you who are on Revitalize in particular, or who are fairly new to strength training, and what I mean by that is I've been doing it for less than 2 years, that central nervous system is probably still learning how to exert force in those certain movement patterns, whether it's bending over for a deadlift or pushing something away from you for a bench press. Essentially, your central nervous system is constantly improving its ability to do that work. What it needs to do is have thousands and thousands of repetitions of a particular movement. So let's say the bench press, thousands of repetitions of a bench press, slowly increasing the amount of load we're asking it to express, to move, the force we're asking it to express. If we skip ahead too far and we don't respect biology essentially and nature and the natural progression of things, we will end up with some form of injury. Our body will limit us, or our central nervous system will be completely burnt out. And so these are things to be really aware of when we're in the gym, that we've just got to be patient with that progression. And those pieces on Saturday is all part of making that being patient fun. You're not going for max efforts. You're not absolutely thrashing yourself in some sort of disgusting WOD. You're getting a sweat on, you're getting a pump on, you're doing your body good. You're building your body up rather than breaking it down. All training really is breaking the body down to an extent, but we're doing it to such a small amount that we can easily recover from it. We do it at the end of the week, those central nervous system recovery sessions essentially, because you've spent all week at work, most of you. Your central nervous systems will be fried. Even if that has become the norm and you not understand it, but you don't really feel that. But that tired, drained feeling that often people get towards the end of the week, that's your central nervous system fatigue, because you're in fight or flight when you're at work, when you're traveling to work, when you're stuck in traffic, when your kids are having a tantrum in the middle of Tesco's. All of those things, they activate the central nervous system in a very similar way to a very maximal deadlift does. And so if we burn the candle too hard on that central nervous system, we're going to struggle to make any progression in the gym. So those more moderate sessions that we do are really important for just giving the central nervous system a break, letting it do something that it feels comfortable doing, and slowly building. Anyway, I hope that all makes sense. I am working on next cycle already. If you've got things that you've really, really enjoyed in this cycle, please do drop me a line, let me know, and I can look at whether we can continue that theme into the next cycle, because there will be ongoing themes. Squatting, deadlifting, or variations of will always be there. Pushing and pulling will always be there. Some form of conditioning will always be there. I'm just trying to keep it interesting and in a way that it doesn't burn you out or get too repetitive. So building you up, not breaking you down. If you've got any friends, family who might be interested in this sort of training, this sort of methodology, please do send them my way. If they want to talk about it, I'm free to talk and get them signed up. Thanks very much for listening, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.